It's 5:30. I'll call the meeting to order, and if everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Commissioners, have you had a chance to review the agenda?
I have.
I have.
Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
I have none.
I have none.
Okay, with that, then I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we adopt the agenda.
I second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is appointments. The Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals has one expired term, and applications will be received until March 25th, 2020. Presentations. Item A, AAA Traffic Safety Award, gold level.
Is that on? Is that on?
Yeah.
There it is. Okay. Good evening, gentlemen. I've got Daniel Kaiser with the Kansas Department of Transportation Law Enforcement Liaison, and Sean Stewart with AAA, and I've got Tim Townley. He's a sergeant that manages our traffic safety committee and takes care of all the statistics to apply for this award. So I'll turn it over to these guys.
Thanks, Chief. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you very much. I'm Sean Stewart with AAA Kansas. I appreciate the opportunity to appear this evening to present the Independence Police Department with a AAA Kansas Community Traffic Safety Award for their work last year. I want to recognize Dan Kaiser from KDOT. He's a law enforcement liaison that works with us and law enforcement agencies all over the state. Among the many things he does, he helps deserving agencies apply for this award. The AAA award is presented by us annually to encourage communities to address local traffic safety issues in a coordinated and cost-effective way. Only 38 police departments across the state of Kansas are receiving the award this year. Independence PD was recognized for a variety of programs, including having a department-wide policy requiring the use of seat belts, participating in a local multi-organization traffic safety committee and monthly tri-state traffic safety meeting, providing monthly tips and holding several special events at Independence High School highlighting safe driving, conducting ongoing enforcement efforts, especially targeting seat belt usage. And also, officers went through roadside impaired driving investigation and crash reconstruction training. Today, Independence PD is receiving our Gold Level Award for demonstrating excellent and successful efforts in managing traffic safety issues in the city. Great police departments don't happen without the support of city leaders, so we want to thank you and commend you for your support of the chief and his team. Finally, it's with great pleasure that I present Chief Harrison and the entire Independence Police Department with the Gold AAA Kansas Community Traffic Safety Award. Congratulations.
I just want to give Tim the thanks for this, because like I said, he does the statistical tracking, he does the reporting, and he knows the standards that have to be achieved, and he puts all the measures in place and plans the operations and gets personnel together to do that. So it's through his dedicated effort to this project that we are able to get this award. And I think this is only this is the second traffic safety award we've gotten in the last since 2017, and I believe these are the second traffic safety awards we've gotten as a community since the late 1940s, and Mike has that pedestrian safety award hanging in his office, and I want to say it's like 1946. So, it's a pretty neat deal, and I'm really pleased that we've gotten this again this year. So thank you, gentlemen.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations to the council also. It is a big thing that you guys are supportive of that, and it just shows your leadership. What it does is it just doesn't go out and mean that you're stopping cars for nothing. It means you care enough to make the effort and to let people know that you support your law enforcement agency to do that, because there's no reason that somebody wanting to go to the grocery store or to a movie or to a ball game should lose their life or be maimed for the rest of their life because of a traffic crash. And that's what this is doing. It's changing those behaviors from wearing seatbelts, changing those abilities that people may not make those bad decisions of drinking under the influence. So thank you so much for your leadership. Chief Harrison, thank you so much for your leadership. Sarge, thank you so much for your dedication and leadership in getting the work done and passing that on to your folks. So thank you so much. It means a lot.
And they would like to have a picture with you, gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind to come around real quick.
Are we in front of them maybe from that point there, so I'm all around, or whatever's best for you guys? Sure you give Sarge. You're the one that's working hard. Congratulations. Good job, Chief.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you again.
And if someone needs that, like a clerk
Well, we appreciate the Kansas Department of Transportation and AAA for bringing the statistics to our attention, that you can assist Chief Harrison and the department in bringing it to our attention, the citizens, what is really going on outside our city, that these statistics, we might not be aware of all of them, but by you bringing the attention to our department, then they can share and enforce and bring the reality of seatbelts do save lives. And sometimes, you know, you need a little friendly reminder that you better buckle up before you get behind the wheel. But it's really good to see other agencies concerned about the safety of our citizens that will assist our department in taking the next step. And congratulations, Chief, and your department, that the second one, I hope that next year we see another award. I know you're diligent on working on improvement and protection of your officers and our citizens too. So thank you particularly.
Well done.
Well done, gentlemen. Thank you.
Our next presentation is the Library Board of Trustees year end.
So our founding statute requires us to do an activity report. We think that's kind of boring, so we do it a video instead. Do you have it? Yes, we did. Sorry. Okay. Oh, I guess we don't have a video then.
One,
I'll try and find it if I can find it.
okay.
a little later.
I'm sure it was a good video.
It was. It was a really good video.
Well, do you want to go through the numbers or? Yeah, since you're here and we don't have a
Okay.
video,
Okay.
you, come on, kind of wing it, you know?
Okay. All right. Well, I guess the activities that we had last year, I have to go from my memory, but we had over 700 programs, and we had over 70,000 visitors that came to the library, and we determined that by the door count. So those are the only statistics that I can remember. We had a really good summer reading program, and then we have the winter reading program, which is what we call the holiday festival, where the kids read, and then they get holiday bucks, and they get to purchase books or materials or toys from the bookstore and the holiday store, and they can take those home to their families or keep them themselves. So those are the really big summer reading programs that we had.
What about receiving grants? I know last year you requested $60,000 from the city to help with some remodeling, and I believe that later on in the agenda, we'll discuss that, but
Do you want me to
wanna
give you the
share?
numbers now? Sure. So last year we came, when we did our budget, we wanted to do a children's remodel, and we asked to have some seed money so that we could start the project, and then we promised to go out and write grants for the project. So we ended up getting $56,200 in grants for the project, and we only used $2,288 from the city's funds out of the $60,000, and that's because we asked for that before we got the grants, and so you paid that portion of it, and that was to get the architect drawings started, so the project wouldn't last forever, although it did anyway. Yeah, so we got all of the money that we needed for the grant from grants, and we got those from the CBR Foundation, the Community Chest Grant, and then we got a USDA grant, Rural Development Grant for that.
That's great. I know the library has really changed from my childhood, the go in, check out a book, be quiet, leave, and, you know, the programs, it's amazing. The reading programs you have for the daycares and the outreach, it's really a strong asset for the community, and it's, I don't see you slowing down any. You just continue to look for new programs, and I see people parked outside using the Wi-Fi, and so many people, it's really become a focal point in the community, and want to thank you for your guidance and the guidance of the board, the vision that you guys have. It's really putting us forward in so many aspects. So thank you for your effort and your work and presenting this. I'm looking forward to seeing the video too.
I just checked my email and I don't have that from you, so if you can resend it, if I
Okay.
get it, I'll let them know and then we can show it.
Okay.
Will that work?
Did you want me to talk about open access now or later?
If you want to go ahead now, you can, and then
Okay.
since you're,
So open access is a program, I'm not sure that we've come and talked to you about it before, but it's a program that the library has started. That we're one of only 8 libraries in North America that has this program, and it's like a gym membership for the library. So you fill out a contract, you give us a PIN number, and then you can access the library from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, 7 days a week, with your library card and your PIN number at the front door by scanning it and putting in your PIN code. So that gives you access to all the things that you can access at the library without the staff. So you can use the computers, you can check out books. We have a self-checkout. You can play video games, like the children can play video games. You can access all the toys that the kids have. Trying to look around in my head what else we have. Periodicals, the newspapers, yes, and we have the movies that you can check out. What else, John?
Self-service copier.
Oh, the copier, right?
We get preprints every day, so you can have, instead of sitting in your car, you can come inside where it's nice and warm or cool.
Yeah, you can use the Wi-Fi.
Use the library. Really,
And the copier, the Friends just purchased a new copier for the library. The Friends of the Library purchased a new copier, so now there's a color copier and black and white copier available for the public to use during those hours.
great. And to get the access, you just fill out the agreement form, and
As long as you're in good standing with the library, you don't have any fines or any complaints against your record, then you can access the library.
okay.
And it's like 96 hours a week, and we used to be open 42 hours a week. So
Oh, really?
over double the hours.
Yeah. Really exciting program.
Thank you.
Questions?
Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to talk about the statistics. Thanks, Ned. Ned's one of the friends of the library, so he's prompting me. It's only been open for the month of February, and over our 2019 statistics, we're up 14% in usage. So that's equivalent to, 450 extra visits that are coming. We're averaging like almost 70 visits a weekend, so that's really great. And we have 251 people signed up with just 1 month.
Oh, that's
We've
really
ra-
good.
Yeah, that's really good. We're really
That's
excited about 14% is pretty good for just the first month because we
Sure.
haven't really quite marketed it yet. We've just been trying to raise the funds for it. So we did raise $35,586 for it, and we got $19,500 from large donors, and then the rest of that $16,000 came from small donors. Monica Price is one of the ladies that works at the front desk, and she came up with the idea of just asking everybody to donate however much they could donate, whether it was 25 cents or $200 at the front desk. And so we raised $16,000 just by doing it that way.
Wow,
Really.
amazing.
Yeah.
That really shows public support of the
Yes,
program
indeed.
and the interest into having the access. You know, when you first hear about the open access, it's kind of skeptical, you know, of how will this work? But to see those numbers, it's, again, another big plus for the library and the board.
That's all I have. Do I have anything else, Ned? Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Jerry.
Yeah.
Consent agenda.
Were you gonna approve this item since you
No.
talked about it, or you wanna, how do you wanna do that?
Well, that would take a change of the agenda.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll just
We'll just
alter
approve
the
it when the time
information
comes.
that we
Okay.
need at that time. So with the consent agenda, there were no modifications mentioned and as we set the adoption of the agenda. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda.
I second it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Items for commission action. Consider modified contract with PEC for design work for the water treatment plant, Phase 2.
This
Okay.
is a modified contract, as we'd all discussed, some additional work, and PEC got the modified contract back to us, and we're ready for it to be signed. That's basically it.
Okay. Have they given a time schedule once they get the executed contract on starting?
I believe it said 7 days from
Okay.
when we give them notice to proceed, they will start with work.
Okay, so when we had the contract presented, we reviewed, we had no further revisions. So this is the final draft, ready for signing. Any comments from the commission?
It looks like what I was expecting.
Yeah. None. We've covered everything at a previous meeting, so.
Do you have anything?
No?
If not, then I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve a modified contract with PEC for design work for water treatment plant Phase 2.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Consider redirecting funds previously approved for the library's children area remodel to the library's open access. We heard about the open access. We're familiar with that. Lacey, would you explain the transfer of funds?
So in 2019, the commission approved that $60,000 to go towards the children's area remodel. Since the library has since gone out and received grants and to cover the project, we have only put forth $2,288.44 out of those budgeted monies. In addition, they did have a beam that needed to be replaced, so we used some of those funds for that replacement of the beam. The total of that was $6,862.50. And then the open access program has a gap of $17,061 that they need to fund this project. If we were to reallocate or reapprove our funds to go towards that, we would come in, our total budget spent for that would be $26,211.94. And that would put us $33,788.06 under that original $60,000 budget. So you should have received in your packet a letter that Jerry wrote just requesting the commission to consider approving the expenditure of that $17,061 to the library's open access program, which would allow them to be open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. In addition, I'll note that these funds will mainly cover one-time costs of security cameras and things like that will also, protect our building and our investment, as well as its patrons, which are mainly our citizens.
Okay. Seems like a good investment where we had already allocated the money to go and see the completion of the access system. The balance of the money is going to be nice coming back, having some change.
It's always good to be under budget.
Yeah. Since we've already allocated that money, and I know we talk about maintenance, and then like you mentioned, a beam needed to be replaced, and part of that money went to it. What if the $33,700 went to start a fund for building maintenance, since,
Specifically for the library, yeah.
well, for the buildings, so we can accumulate and start building maintenance fund, because as things, the libraries for one, that's going to have issues as it ages to do maintenance. The same with Memorial Hall and other facilities, and the swimming pool that were under the quality of life where we've used.
I could definitely transfer the remaining balance. The quality of life fund would be a great fund to do that, and it's one that doesn't have incoming funds anymore, so that would be a great idea to start replenishing with excess cash.
I think it was, as we look at our 2021 budget, we need to start considering some of the maintenance on our aging buildings, that we allocate money each year to go into a fund so that we'll be prepared for breakdowns or emergency repairs. So, commissioners, how do you feel about the contribution to the open access?
As the original monies were assigned for improved programming and improved facilities for that programming, this open access investment seems like along those same lines, to increase the availability of the library and improve the facility so that availability can persist. So I don't see any problem at all redirecting the funds.
Okay.
No, I don't either. It's a win-win for the patrons of the library and the community, having this open access to make that library available for people that can't normally be there during the what they consider normal operating time. So, no, I don't have a problem with this. I think this is a good idea.
Okay. Well, if there's no further questions or comments on it, then I'll call for a motion.
I move to approve funding to the library's open access program in the amount of $17,061.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, Lacey.
Thank you.
And thank you, Jerry. And you have some members of the library board
yeah.
present. Would you like to introduce them to the commission at this time?
Sure. How about you guys stand up? So Michelle Anderson is here in the front,
Okay.
and Carolyn Torrance is our president, and she's in the second row. And then John Long is our assistant library director, is back there
Okay.
too.
Okay, great.
All right.
We appreciate all
Yeah.
your time. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you for all you do
Appreciate it.
for the library.
Next item on the agenda is consider a resolution to pass monies received from the transient guest tax through to the Independence Chamber of Commerce, and to set a budget hearing for amending the 2020 budget to include a new budgeted fund for the transient guest tax.
And Mayor and Commissioners, we had learned that the county commission had passed a resolution redistributing these funds by a percentage instead of the number of beds. They also modified that to redistribute the funds directly to the cities and to the instead of the chamber. We weren't quite aware that they were doing that, but we found out when they sent the notice to our city clerk. So the chamber has traditionally taken on this role of tourism. They've, in staff's opinion, have done a great job. And we would like to pass those funds back on to them so they can continue their programs. And with that, Lacey had done some research, and we were needing to have a fund for those funds to go to and be expended out of. So they're setting part of this is setting that hearing date. And so that's part of it. And then there's a resolution passing the funds through. Now, we have talked about increasing those for some other purposes. And that this doesn't cover that at that time. And that's something Jeff could cover with you on how we could accomplish that. But it would have to be a charter ordinance and some things like that. So we'd have some more work to do to get that piece done. But this is just to pass the funds through so the chamber can continue what they're doing.
Okay. Are the commissioners familiar with the transient guest tax statutes?
I am, and I have some questions, but if this is not the right time for that, since we're just establishing a hearing,
Right.
I can ask them later.
Okay.
I don't think we're just establishing a hearing. I have a question out to the state, because when I did research, I couldn't find conclusive proof that I do need a separate fund, a budgeted fund. So I've asked the question and I'm waiting for a response. But in the meantime, we have scheduled to set a budget hearing. We've sent it to the paper. I can pull it if we don't want it in tomorrow's paper. But I think the hope is that you guys will still discuss going ahead and signing a resolution today to allow that pass-through to the chamber. And it may or may not take a budgeted fund. That I'm still waiting to hear.
Yeah, I like the way you've presented it, that you add a budget line, because we are responsible for the money and we need to track the money coming through in a separate fund, even if it passes through. 'Cause
It regardless would.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not it needs the official budget process. Is that only that part? It will have a separate fund, but not all funds have to go through the official budgeting process.
I think right now, the only thing that the county has changed is from sending it direct to the chambers, they've directed all the money to go to the cities.
And they changed the allocation.
and do what?
They also changed the allocation. So previously,
The percentage is
yeah,
right.
we
It was
were
based upon,
beds, and we
bed
were
count.
getting about 49%, I
Yeah.
think, previously.
yeah, because some of the smaller towns don't have hotels and they were still getting,
They were not
Funds.
receiving funds before. Those cities without hotels previously were not receiving funds, but now with the reallocation, they will be receiving funds, although they don't have
okay.
the beds.
That's set up for 5% for Cherryville and Caney, is that right? And then 45% would be allocated to Independence and to Coffeyville.
Yes.
So my questions have more to do with the statute itself, the state, and whether I understand the statute correctly. Because the statute itself says things like, I believe, or maybe I should just form this in a question. Does the state's statute with regard to transient guest tax say that in the existence of a county-wide transient guest tax, the cities may not establish a separate transient guest tax? Or do they say, do they say that if a city alone, if the county does not have a transient guest tax, that the city can establish a transient guest tax, and then after the fact, a county can establish a transient guest tax and exclude the city that is already engaged in collection of transient guest taxes. You understand my question?
I do, and we researched this when Paul Sass was city manager, and actually, I thought they were going to adopt it. My answer to your question is it doesn't matter because the city can adopt a charter ordinance and opt out of the state statutes. So rather than
That
answer
simplifies it.
answer your
Yeah.
question, I'd rather just say it that way. But I think your overall interpretation of the state statutes was accurate. But the state statutes actually cap, I call it a bed tax. They cap it at 2%. And the county actually opted out and raised it above the 2% to 5%. And the city likewise could opt out and collect just a citywide tax in addition to what the county is doing. Now, the catch is, under the state statutes, the Department of Revenue collects the tax and then distributes it for you. If you opt out of the state statutes, you have to ask very nicely for them to continue to do that.
I see.
They don't have to. They've always done it in the past. And that would be my only concern. So I'm not going to say it could get political, but I guess it could get political, and that's where you have a state senator or state representative to go to bat for you on that issue. But we talked about, raising it to, when it was originally created, it was just for convention and tourism, and some cities started using it pretty broadly. So the legislature, I think it was in '97, tightened that definition. Because, the only people paying the tax are the motels, hotels, and the people that stay there. So it's a limited population base being taxed for the benefit of, so you got to be careful. If you do the charter ordinance and you want to broaden the usage, you can broaden it over what the state statute says, but you kind of need to stay in the realm of convention and tourism. And, economic development was thrown out and some other things. And I think you can tie those into convention and tourism. But that's another discussion. Didn't mean to get off base, but your interpretation is correct. But the charter ordinance opens it up to do basically anything.
And that actually answers my second question, because the funds in the state statute are restricted to a convention and tourism focus, and therefore it directs those cities and counties to establish a convention and visitors bureau and fund that with the transient guest tax. But if we opt out, it broadens it. We can broaden it with a charter ordinance.
Right.
Okay. That answers my questions.
So, let's see.
I think the only question I had was on what the information you sent was that from the resolution that the county passed, that it indicates that the county commissioners will provide oversight of the tourism, they will continue to do oversight of that transient guest tax money.
The old resolution said that they were supposed to appoint a board
Right.
that was made up primarily of hotel motel owners.
Right.
And they were supposed to get quarterly financials. And that was from the 80s, and I don't think that they followed through with
They
that.
never did, right.
So I think that they appointed themselves as that oversight board, but it would be for the city to, report to them as how I interpret it. But I haven't actually talked to the county. Like I said, we just got this in the mail. We didn't actually, we weren't aware that they were doing this.
Okay. I did reach out to the county to see if there were any additional people that would be part of this oversight committee in addition to the county commissioners. But Charlotte was going to check with the county commissioners Monday to see if it was just limited to those three commissioners or there would be other people involved. So I never quite got the answer
Yeah.
I was looking for.
The resolution indicates it's just the
Three.
three.
Okay.
Looking at the resolution, I think one thing, it noted that the responsibility, let's see, to document and to report would go to the commission, county commissioners. I think if the money comes to the city, then we should have the report and come to us, because we're going to be held accountable. The way the resolution appears to me is that it's, if the money comes to us for distribution, then we're going to have to see how it's being spent and then report to the commissioners.
Can I comment on that, Larry? I agree with you, but if you look at the resolution the county adopted on January 27, I think it's just wasn't prepared properly, and I don't want to criticize the county in open session, but the way it's worded in the second paragraph of their resolution, it says the Board of County Commissioners will serve as the Oversight Committee for Tourism, with a yearly report being filed with the commission by the Convention and Visitor Bureau. It doesn't say city. I don't know why. I think that was just I think it's a typo, honestly. But that's what it says. And that's why I put in ours,
Right.
that's why I put that there. But it can certainly be changed. Obviously, we want to comply with the county resolution,
Yeah.
whatever it says, but
I think it would be a plot, with them preparing the documentation and sending it to us, also, it would still comply with, that they're the one preparing the information. Because the transient guest tax money is kind of one of those things that, you know, the statute did say directly conventions and tourism. And I know that there was a Attorney General opinion on a deal that Fort Scott wanted to do, and they restricted the use to not include some ADA work and things on a tourism building. So, you know, there is.
that's
it's a
Fort
funny-
Scott didn't opt out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because it was under the strict interpretation of the statute.
Yeah. So, you know, as we're not opted out yet, and
No.
the strict interpretation.
Well, actually, the county did opt out. In the series of resolutions from the county, they adopted the 2% back in the 80s, but then in, I can find the date, 2007, they passed a charter resolution exempting themselves from at least a portion of the statutes. And that's how they got to 5% mainly. I don't know if the county considers itself as having opted out of the definition of what meets the convention and tourism test. You'd have to ask them on that. I don't know.
So, let's see. You haven't, Kelly, the commission hasn't talked to you other than just sending the letter and the resolution to David?
No, I've sent you emails to let you know, so you knew what I was going to do, what I
Right.
was gonna propose, and I think I've talked to you guys about that. And, but if you wanna modify the resolution, you could say that the report goes to you and to the county. I mean, you could easily modify that if you would like.
Well, I think a report should come to the city. I don't know
Yes.
if the commissioners,
You can modify section 4, the last sentence, where
Right.
it says, the Independence Convention and Visitors Bureau, and Lisa's here,
They
shall
should
then be
be
responsible for reporting compliance to the city
yeah.
instead of the county.
And then the city send it to the county.
Okay. So we're going to go through with that modification? That last sentence?
That's your pleasure.
Is that what? What's flavor?
That, I've shared my opinion, so you know my pleasure.
Okay.
So what's your flavor?
Well, I think it should come to the city, that report, and then we should forward that on to the county, if we're gonna be the ones responsible for it.
If we're ready, then I'll make a motion and we'll see if we get a second then. I make a
Okay.
motion that we adopt the resolution. We don't have a number.
2020-012.
What?
2020-012.
That's the county's resolution?
No, this is our resolution. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, 20 dash
20-012.
012.
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion that we adopt resolution number 20-012 with the modification in section 4 to the last sentence that the Independence Convention and Visitors Bureau shall then be responsible for compliance with all reporting requirements and submit to the City of Independence for further processing.
Good? All right. Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried.
Do we need to set the budget hearing?
Yes.
Would you
Motion?
like a motion?
Go ahead.
I move to set the 2020 amended budget hearing date for March 26th, 2020 at 5:30 PM for the consideration of transient guest tax.
I have a
Second.
motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Item D, consider modifying the location for the Remington statue.
Okay, I am here on behalf of the VFW, American Legion, and Mossy Kennels to request permission and your blessing to place Remington Monument on the northwest corner of Penn and Laurel by 301.
At the location of the, is that
Yes.
plywood indicating the location?
Yep,
Okay,
of Penn and Laurel, right there, on the footnote right, they're right behind you.
okay.
Okay,
And you mentioned in your letter the base.
okay, that's, the footnote is a template of Remington's monument, and then we have access around it to place 15 4x8 granite bricks around that. And I don't know, on the dimensions part, I know they're in there. I know I sent it to you. The base is 19 inches wide. Listed part, I don't know what that, statue is 3 feet tall, not included in the concrete base. The bronze base is 3 or so thick. Okay, here.
Well, you mentioned the concrete base in your letter that that wasn't decided yet or
Yes.
actually firm. Okay.
SEK is doing all
Oh,
of
okay.
it. On the base part, you see, on the footnote, and then you see Remington's statue right here, that's gonna be placed on top of that footnote, plus that little part right there on the footnote, to have 15 4x8 bricks of granite. Or monument. That's as big as it's
Okay.
gonna be.
Have you looked at the potential with it located there for visibility obstruction at the corner?
We have not,
For
I don't
the-
know if David's checked.
Because the
mean
base,
like
if the
ADA?
concrete was 2 foot high and the statue 3 foot, so it's gonna be
I guess
5
everybody's-
foot high.
Everybody's
We just need
misunderstanding
to
this.
confirm that vision, somebody turning, it's not gonna
Oh,
block
you
their
mean
vision.
the site radius?
Okay,
Okay, slight triangle. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll check that.
got 2-foot concrete base, seems high to the top of the statue then being about 5 foot.
She may have put it on there wrong. Here's, that's the dimension right there on that one.
Yeah, it's approximately 5 feet.
Okay, 24,
Yeah,
and then.
so it's gonna be
the
5
concrete,
foot.
36 will be 5 feet, 20 across, 36, 24 concrete, and then 3 feet, so yeah, it'd be 5 foot approximately. Yep. That looks a little better.
Just with it out in that area, the height with vehicle, view of pedestrians crossing, coming around the corner, the size of it, we need to confirm that it's not gonna be, an obstruction there since it's out in front of the traffic light.
In the document there, it indicates an overhang of the monument base of 8 inches for a portion of the sculpture. Is that of concern to anyone that that might be an obstruction for a pedestrian or perhaps a hazard?
Well, it will be for ADA, a protruding object.
The tail sticks out 8 inches past
Yeah.
the block.
Yeah,
Oh,
probably the base would need to extend, the concrete would need to extend out
To
to include
Accommodate.
that.
accommodate the length of the tail.
But what about the area there? How's the commission?
I actually think that the move to this location is an improvement. I think that the more passersby at this point would enjoy
Okay.
this really lovely sculpture.
You probably can't see where the tail comes down. Tail is coming down. May I?
Oh, okay.
But if it projects more than 6 inches
Past.
beyond the base
Okay.
in a walkway,
It's going
Okay.
down.
But does it,
Okay.
it doesn't extend past
No.
this
Oh, okay.
base? Okay, that's what we're trying to get at.
oh, okay,
If it does not extend past the base, then my question is moot.
yeah.
Lovely.
Okay. Okay, so that eliminates that problem.
And then
Yeah.
you already all have the story about it, and he will have a, if you accept this, that we, there's a plaque that's gonna have a story on it.
Right.
And the 15 8x8 granite pavers will be in the brick.
Yes, on the very, on the outside of the footnote. It'd be right inside the footnote. Yes,
Yeah.
somebody else can come up here
If
and
you,
tell us wrong.
if you turn it parallel to the brick, it'll be a lot easier
Yep.
to put the pavers in. But with the location, it will be a lot more prominent than where it was originally proposed, so.
and there is a dog across the street from the bulldog.
Well, they won't fight, will they?
I don't know.
Well, you never know.
Yeah.
They're gonna be looking at each other.
I couldn't remember where the bulldog
It is that other
was.
corner
yeah.
by Sears.
Okay,
Okay.
that corner's just going to the dogs.
Yeah.
What do we
It is.
say?
Hey, they're all good dogs.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Other than the questions that you brought up
Yeah.
concerning the placement and site, looks good.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the corner, it's just working out the details with the the site visibility, that as long as doesn't obstruct the vision for traffic, Chief Harrison and David can look at that later. And because right now we're just going to talk about, is a corner okay? And it sounds like, so if there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I move to authorize the placement of a Remington statue on the northwest corner of Penn Laurel with the exact location to be determined once the funds have been raised.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for bearing with us.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you sure can.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
Item E, consider authorizing the placement of signs restricting parking to one side of Birch Street from First Street to Cement Street.
Chief Harrison?
Chief? You got to keep traffic flowing.
My apologies, we were having a vigorous site triangle discussion back there. This is an item that was brought to me. Mike Passeur and resident had been contacted by a resident in that area. This is not a project that was taken to the Traffic Safety Committee. I had originally was holding on to it to try to get it in front of the Traffic Safety Committee and get their input on it, but it was decided that we need to move it along for the sake of the residents in the area. So Mike worked with me on this and added the suggestion of changing sides of the street to accommodate the way that residents are located. You have a vacant lot on the north side there, I believe, and then you have a residence that has parking available on their lot as well. They have a big, if I remember right, they have a circle drive or at least a good-sized driveway. So that's why that side of we changed it to the north side in that one section to accommodate the people on the south side, and then down through the rest of it, we put it on the south side. And I believe that that was at the resident's request, at least on the east end, and I believe she is here tonight if you'd like to hear from her. And as you can see in the picture there, that's I parked my truck in between two parked trucks. I know that's not the best perspective, but I'll tell you, it's a pretty snug spot for parking on both sides there, so I sympathize with the residents and certainly understand that their urgency to get this taken care of.
It's very narrow through there. It's very narrow through there, and like I said, we own the lot. My brother owns the lot on the south side. And the resident, he lives across the street, and he just parks his truck there. It's leaking oil real bad. And, I mean, it's hard to get through there. Mm-hmm. And it would be hard for, like, the ambulance, when they had to come and get my neighbor one day, they had a hard time getting through there.
With parking on both sides.
On both sides.
Yeah, okay.
Even, if you look at the narrative there, even with parking on one side, we're still a little bit shy of what NACTO recommends. But, that's a recommendation, and I think we need to be practical here, and we don't want to shut down parking for everybody there.
And most people are parking on the north side anyway. They hardly ever use the south side. Everybody's pretty well on that side got the driveway. They pull up, And the people I've talked to, most of the neighbors said they don't mind. If they have company, they could park on that side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that anyone who would have to negotiate driving between both of those vehicles parked adjacent would be slowing way down and being very careful, because it's just narrow and it would take some caution to get through there safely.
I would hate to see it. That's in the middle of the day. I'd hate to see it when everybody's at home at night.
Yeah.
I think it would really be congested, and I'd you would have to comment on this, but
But
I'm
the-
guessing the street lighting there is probably not
There's no
as
street
good as
light.
we would
Yeah.
like it to be. So it would be
It's very
just
dark
hazard
in
on
that
top of
area.
hazard there.
Yes. Just like the other night when the fire trucks had to come through there. There was a truck on each side, a vehicle, and they had a hard time getting
Sure.
through there.
This is Linda Salazar.
Okay.
I've talked to
right.
Linda on several
Several
occasions too,
yeah.
so yeah.
Trying to work down there in that area and get things situated, and
Sure.
I'm trying to start up a little group of people to start cleaning up down there.
Oh, good.
And I went out to the Dollar Tree and bought some of those picker-uppers, so
Yeah.
that way they don't have to use their hands. They
Yeah.
just grab it, and I got plenty of sacks to offer them. And I told them they could put them in my trash bin for the trash day.
Oh, that's
Just,
great.
just start, we gotta
Yeah.
start getting somewhere with this.
Yeah, and a neighborhood movement like that'll go far,
Yes.
much farther.
Yes, and I got
than
several
anything.
people's ready to pitch in and start
Great.
doing it.
Great.
And I gotta talk to several people that owns these empty lots. I wanna go in there without being arrested. I mean, they don't have no trespassing signs
Yeah.
or anything, but we're doing them a favor.
Yeah.
We wanna clean up, get it where we can see things, and they're supposed to be mowing it now. I heard that they bought them, so I'm hoping they keep the mowing down on them.
Good.
But I wanna clean the limbs, trees out of there and all that. So, and I got 3 of my neighbors agreeing to go along with me so far, and maybe they see us trying to get it cleaned up, they'll go right along with us.
Well, maybe then you can share how you got your neighborhood started with some of the other neighborhoods.
Yes, yes,
And start,
yes, I'm willing
citywide,
to
yeah.
do that,
that'd be great.
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of times, someone like you can inspire a neighborhood to start their own program more
Right.
than we can as a
Yeah, work
administration.
together,
So
try
thank
to
you.
work together and get
Yeah.
along with each other,
Yeah, appreciate that.
That's the main goal there, and
Yeah.
I know everybody don't want the places looking like some of them down there are looking
Sure.
pretty bad,
Yeah.
And I'm hoping with
Mm-hmm.
Aaron and everything, me and her's been working together on
Good.
some of that, and I've told her and I've showed her pictures. I always take pictures to,
Yeah.
so I got something to show for, show them what's going on, in the neighborhood. And hope other neighborhoods will start following it too,
Well, thank you.
So, okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
that's
Okay.
awesome, Linda.
You make a
Thank
very
you.
compelling
Really is.
argument, Linda, and I know you'll be able to get it done, because I've been on the other end of this, your compelling argument. You always come out on top, so, and one
Well-
other question, you have an extra one of those pickup things?
I've been picking them up at the Dollar Tree as I see them.
I tell you, I'll make you a deal, you got one of those, I've got an extra sanitizer out in the car.
Well, I got
We'll-
plenty, I got a
we'll-
big
we'll
bottle of
trade.
sanitizer, and I
We'll
got a
trade,
big
okay?
bottle of gloves too. If they
Yeah.
don't- If
Okay.
they'd rather feel safe with gloves, I got plenty of gloves for them.
Okay,
So,
Okay.
I'm ready to go at it.
okay, keep
Well,
it up.
thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We need to bottle that enthusiasm.
Yes,
My goodness, that would be wonderful.
And it just shows the difference that one can make.
Indeed.
That's great.
yes.
Okay. If there's no further questions concerning the restriction of the parking, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I move that we authorize the placement of signs restricting parking to one side of Birch Street from First Street to Cement Street.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next item on the agenda, reports. Item A, 223 West Main Street.
Mayor, there is nothing to report on this at this time. He continues to be working with his engineers.
Okay. And no further information submitted.
I have not received any information He contacted me and said he was having some issues. He was working with engineers, and that's all the information I received.
Okay, Commissioners, any questions on that? If not, neighborhood revitalization plan?
I met with the college Monday night, and which was the last group for the interlocal agreement, and they approved on unanimous vote. So we will be submitting this to the Attorney General for final approval.
Okay,
Congratulations.
Thanks.
great.
Good, thank you, Kelly.
Thanks. I'd be really glad to get that off my plate.
Usually,
Sure.
with the approval of these other agencies, it's just kind of a walkthrough with the Attorney General,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
they review it to make sure it follows the statutory requirements, but the method that we used on using that condition report from the county, it will show that those areas were, had a blighting influence, and I think it will meet the requirement, and I don't anticipate any issues.
Okay. So this, once it's accepted by the Attorney General, this plan will be good for 10 years,
Yes,
so it would expire,
December 31st, 2030. I set that so it would be the end of the year,
Okay.
December 30th. Some of the other ones were mid-year, and it was kind of, I thought it, just to make it cleaner.
Right.
And it runs to the end of December 2030.
and the other industrial park, are we 5 years into it or 4 on those?
They're all a little different. North Penn, we did a couple of years ago, and then those other ones, West Laurel, West Main, I think were done a year or two before that.
Okay,
So it's still good, got a good 5
Yeah.
years or so left.
okay, so we're in good shape with
Mhm.
those. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Next is the 2020 census.
We are making strides on this along with our census committee, which we have a great census committee, and some of them are here now. And we had a meeting after First Friday on March 6th, and April helped us get organized on who was doing what. We wanted to do kind of a local message, and so I'll give you guys copies of those so you can take a look at them, and I have extra copies for anybody in the audience if they want them. But we wanted to put together, it was suggested to put together a local message that kind of talked about the programs that would be affected locally, and make it, instead of just something from the U.S. Census Bureau, we wanted it also to be from the city and the Complete Count Committee kind of thing. So we had a subcommittee that worked on this, and then Joanne helped us make it look very pretty. And so this is what we came up with, so that we're all giving the same consistent message. And I did speak with Steve McBride to the Progressive Ministers a few weeks ago. We are both speaking at Rotary tomorrow, and I know some of the other groups are scheduling times to meet with their groups. And actually, you're assigned to one, so I need to bring that to your attention.
Okay.
So, that's what happens when you don't come to meetings, you get assigned to do stuff.
That's good.
But anyway, it was one of the churches that we were needing some help with.
Yeah.
And I sent an email out to Lacey today to get this also translated into Spanish.
Yeah.
So we'll have Spanish versions as well. So, it's going good. The committee's doing a really good job. I'm really excited. We have so many people interested in participating in this, and we've had a great local effort. And so we're just really excited about it.
Okay, great. We had the city board minutes. Any questions regarding those?
I have none.
I have none.
Okay. City managers report.
I thought maybe we needed to give you an update on a few things. The beautification event, I have David here. Where'd David go? Oh, and he can give you an update on that. And I thought while he was here, we'd go ahead and give you an update on the coronavirus as well. Do you want
Just
the clicker?
inviting public, I think Linda took off. but we have a community meeting on April 24th at 6 p.m. here at the Civic Center.
March 24th?
Or excuse me, March 24th at 6 p.m. here in the Civic Center. And we're inviting the community to come out. And I'm sure Jerry's bringing Linda. Yep. And just getting the community involved in beautification and helping to clean up our community. So encourage everybody to please attend. We want your input and your involvement.
Yeah, great.
Yep.
Great. Well, if we can just clone Linda and place her, but
That's
really
exactly.
getting that type of action in each community, in each neighborhood would do so much more.
Yeah.
to-
We have some excellent presentations by our code enforcement officer. Actually, I just seen her updated PowerPoint today, and Jerry Harrison does an excellent presentation too. So I would encourage everybody to come out and see these. We have a couple of gentlemen that are going to be speaking to get the crowd enthusiasm going. So I think it'll be a good event.
Great.
Encourage everyone to come out.
Yeah, well, thank you.
All right.
And then at the city county meeting, we did talk about the coronavirus. Lee Miller with the county and Rick Whitson went through some of that. But I wanted David to kind of walk you through just some facts about that. Just, I know it's a hot topic. We're getting a lot of calls and questions and things like that.
It is a hot topic, and the biggest thing is, we don't want anybody to panic. Hard part is we're still in the middle of flu season. There's still a lot of people sick. We're still running a lot of older people that are sick with the flu, so it's just a bad timing of the year. We're coming to a warmer season, which should help tremendously. But we have the next 3 to 4 weeks that are really probably going to be kind of challenging, and we just ask people the advice that the CDC is giving out. Be concerned about the elderly. I mean, those are the ones that are susceptible to the illness, especially, and encourage people to just have wisdom where you're traveling, large groups. This is the time of year with spring break, and I think it's really not heightened. It just makes people aware that the kids are traveling all over the country, and that's just the chances increase. So wisdom and washing your hands frequently. I mean, wash your hands a lot each and every day. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. And just having wisdom. We're seeing a lot of different things as the country tries to work to slow this down by, the games have been canceled or not canceled or postponed or not having audiences. Just trying to keep those crowds from gathering around where a lot of transmission happens. But, it's more than likely we will see more cases pop up and around because it's just like the flu, and it's going to spread. But just be wisdom. And we at the city are just encouraging our employees, if you're sick, have a fever, stay at home. Stay at home and get well. See your doctor. Make sure you're well. Don't want to make anybody else sick. Just those common things that we all should do every flu season. I mean, and colds. And so coronavirus is a very common virus that passes. This is just a mutated form, but kids have coronaviruses all the time, just different forms of colds and stuff. Viruses go on all the time. So just being more diligent about cleaning your workspaces, washing your hands, taking care of yourself, getting plenty of rest, keeping your immune system up and strong, and we will make it through this. I guarantee you we'll make it through all of this.
Sounds like what you're saying, the key to controlling it is action by us.
Yeah.
It's not a government, it's not in a city or an organization, but the responsibility is to each of us to wash our hands, control our coughs.
Yep.
Make sure that, when you go to Walmart, you get the little cleaning swab and wipe the hand rail off. And
You know, if you're thinking about traveling to a large event, you just need to think about it. You know, if I'm going to be traveling to Seattle, Washington right now, I may want to put that off for a little bit. And I mean, you just need to make wise decisions. And then if for chance you get into a situation where you think you've been exposed, make the wise decision to stay away from people to make sure that you aren't sick. So, I mean, it's just
Knuckle bump instead of shaking.
Exactly. Kelly and I had a meeting today with some people and 3 ladies, and I elbow bumped one, fist bumped one, and then a 60-some-year-old lady, we did the foot.
Yeah.
They were from Blue Cross and Blue Shield, so I mean.
Yeah.
David, I didn't hear you say, but maybe you did, and if you're symptomatic, people
Yes.
should stay home.
If you have a fever, a respiratory type of a illness, fever, cough, respiratory type, you should stay home. And we're currently working on a policy at the city just for this right now to tell our people, you have a fever, cough, and you're sick, you need to go home. Leave the workplace, go home. Because it is a concern, and our concern is, of course, you don't want to be ill, but as a city, we have to function. And this virus is around, likely it's going to be in the area, but when people get exposed, you get put in 14-day quarantines to make sure it doesn't spread. And as a city, we have to function and worry about staffing. So you see a lot of different things happening in the world right now. The colleges are switching to online classes. Hospitals are doing different policies if their employees are leaving the state or going on cruises. They're asking them to not come back to work for 14 days. A lot of things, because it isn't, we don't want to be sick. It's just, if you wipe out all your staff, how are you going to do those important functions? Keeping those systems going. So, I mean, that's where it gets real technical and probably saying too much here, but those are the things that we work on and that companies are working on, is keeping their companies running and maintaining those systems and keeping their people safe. So they're asking their people to be wise about what they do and help. You know, we have a fireman go out and get exposed and come on shift and take out 7 firemen. That hurts, cripples. Those are the things that we work to try to avoid.
So the symptoms to watch for are fever and respiratory issues.
Type of cough.
Okay.
Are the things that if you start to run those, we ask that you go home and call your medical provider. They would like you to call, tell them what's going on, and then if they feel the symptoms require some testing, then they will set that up with you and how to come to the facility to safeguard from spreading the virus.
Do they have testing kits available in the county?
We do have testing available in the area. Can be done at Topeka, and I think it fairly shortly should be able to be done locally at the hospitals. But any test that's done here is a presumptive. The final is done at the CDC. So by chance you did get a presumptive positive here, of course you'd be quarantined and everything, but then it would go off to the CDC for a final confirmation. Okay. And so, but I mean, again, we just urge people, common sense. I think Rick says it every day. Don't panic, just common sense. Think about what you're doing. It's the flu. Flus sweep across this nation every year, and they're just hard to, every November, December, you'll start to see a red dot where the first flu case happens, and they just move across. We're such a mobile society. So, that's...
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
And then the only other thing I had is you may have noticed that the park department has redone our welcome signs, and they have done an excellent job, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
They look great. They were
Great.
in need of repair. Look awesome.
Can I say just a couple of things?
Yeah.
It's 2 of my park employees that they actually saw the need and came to me and wanted to paint them in their spare time, whatever spare time we have, rainy days and everything. So you can see the one on the left, that's the 10th Street sign, and when they went to take it down, it started to fall apart. They went back and had to put 2x4s on the backside. They got it down, and you can see here on the right, that's it finished. So that's a huge difference there. So I'd just like to commend them for taking the initiative to make the community look better. And they've gotten so many people that have made comments to them, and they're so proud. And I'm proud that they got the recognition for doing this. So I just said something to Kelly at the staff meeting. She said we need to report it. So
Sure.
here I am. I thought it was a great thing, the city employees that want to make the city look better. And so that's the two of them in the picture there. And that's the one on the north end. And Mrs. Tall came over and hugged them and everything. She was so excited. So.
Well, I appreciate the employees taking the initiative and stepping up and doing that. They look great.
And who were the employees?
It's Kevin Ginther, and he used to be a professional painter, so he knew what paint to use. That has marine paint on it. He's told me all about it, and it should last 10, 15 years with no problem out in the weather.
Good
and the
point.
other gentleman is John Fletcher.
Well,
All right.
thank them for us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
I will.
you.
Thank
Great
you.
job. Well done.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, Barb.
Okay. Commissioner comments?
I have none.
I have none.
Sometime back, we had discussed, I think Amanda was contacted at the league about a policy on partnering and that sort of thing. Has anything come to fruition?
I haven't heard. I can send her another email.
Okay. And along with that, on use of office space that we've been talking about, maybe she could include or a definition of some guidelines on no charge or that basis too. And we have a commission special meeting the 19th.
18th and the 31st,
Okay, the 18th is a Thursday.
Wednesday. That's your third Wednesday at 9 a.m. That's
Okay.
the one that Evergy's going to be here, and then I think you wanted to also discuss programming.
Yeah, that's what,
18th at 9 a.m. Okay.
okay. It is the 18th and not the 19th.
I can double check. I thought it was.
We've had so many, I got confused
Yeah,
whether it
you-
was
you-
Wednesday or
You probably
Thursday.
have set a record here lately.
So,
So yeah, it is an 18th, this that third Wednesday at 9 a.m. that you guys want to do your work session on
Yeah.
that schedule. And
Right.
she has the data back from the reporter on the central energy plan and wanted to
Okay.
report on that. So.
okay. Then, after the Evergy presentation, maybe we can discuss like budget on City Hall.
Okay.
Do just some discussion, bring all of us up to date so that we can get with Trainer and give a little more direction to them. So we'll do that the 18th. Also,
And the March 31st is with the Economic Advisory.
March 31st is the one with Trainer
Where
to
they're-
bring them back.
Right.
And then
Okay.
the economic development is the first Tuesday at 3:30. It is April 7th.
Okay.
And I sent a calendar invite on that one.
Okay.
And that was to go over the business incentive policy that they put together.
Okay. Gotcha.
And they are on the online calendar on the website.
Okay.
I've added all of those into the calendar too. So you can refer to that as well.
Okay. That's all that I had to confirm. Next item then would be public concerns. David, did we get any requests for that? With the next item 10 is executive session. And I move that we recess for an executive session for review and discussion of city manager applications pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception, KSA 75-4319B1. The open meeting will resume about 30 minutes at 7:20. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. We are back in session. There's no action taken from executive session, so at this time, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I second it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried, we're adjourned.